Present.
Miss Jennifer Ratcliffe,
Present.
Mr. Frank Kinney.
Present.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have approval of today's agenda. If there's no questions or additions, may I have a motion to approve?
Do you need to request an amendment to the agenda to add attorney-client privilege communication to the closed session?
I mean, so it has the closed session and the statute around confidential pursuant to. Is there something missing from there?
Yes, you just have to add pursuant to 143-318-11A3 specific for attorney-client privilege.
Okay. Ms. Daniels, did you get that? Okay, awesome. All right. Can somebody make a motion to approve the amended agenda?
This is Dee. I move to approve the amended agenda. This
This
is
is
Audrey.
Frank.
I second.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda is approved. We have the Academic Excellence Committee first. Mr. Hill, I don't know, did Mr. Harvey join all the subcommittees or should we introduce him?
So, good evening, board members. I want to introduce Dr.
Dr.
Howard,
Harvey.
Dr. Howard Harvey.
Oh.
Dr. Howard Harvey is our Senior Director of Policy and Public Affairs. So he most immediately worked for Guilford County. He was an area superintendent where he supervised 15 schools, primarily K-5, 6, 8. And prior to working in Guilford, he was a longtime employee at the Department of Public Instruction, where he worked in the school transformation unit. He is a prior principal and teacher. So we want to welcome him aboard. Some of his primary responsibilities will be to work across our organization to help us to develop and oversee policy implementation. He is going to work with Adam Powell to help us to develop and execute a strategic communications plan. He's working at the legislature and with the Charter School Advisory Board as our primary lobbyist. So join me in welcoming Dr. Harvey.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi. We'll have to talk sometimes. I didn't know you were with the school transformation department at DPI. I've done a lot of work with them over the past 10 years. So I wonder if
Absolutely.
our paths have crossed. Yes. All right. So next up we have me. So for the Academic Excellence Committee, we had Dr. Cooper and Dr. Thigpen present to us the 24-25 performance and EVOS data. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Dr. Cooper.
Good evening. So last week we went over our results from our performance from the 24-25 school year that was released statewide on September 3rd. So I'm going to go over, share my screen and go over the presentation with you. Dr. Thigpen will come up at the end and discuss kind of next steps and what we're doing moving forward. So first thing, I just want to let the board know, and if anyone from the board has a question during the presentation, feel free to ask. But the first thing I just want y'all to know when you're looking at these slides is you might see some data discrepancies, and it's not by accident, it's how the data is reported. So data is reported in our performance of this based on the students who took the test with us. And then there is the school performance data that is based on partial enrollment, which is students that have been enrolled with us for 50% plus 1 day of the school year. The other kind of small little caveat is the school performance grade results can be impacted if we don't meet 95% in an indicator, and I'm going to talk about some great things about that near the end. A historical look at our school performance grades through the years. In this past year, we were a 51D, so we were still considered low performing. As you'll see, overall in reading and math did improve, and so did our math rigor and our graduation cohort. Our science at 5th and 8th grade in biology went through a renorming of the standards, so that is why you see a drop there, and that was statewide. Looking at our indicators from this past year compared to the previous year, you'll see all the indicators on the school performance grade that we showed improvement in. One indicator that is green that we did not have last year was our English learner progress, which is students that are in our EL program and take the access tests every winter, springtime. This year we had 42 students that fell into the subgroup, so it became a reportable indicator, where the previous year it was only 27 students. So that indicator was not calculated in our school performance grade. Our overall growth did drop from the previous year at -3 down to -5, but it was nice to see that our reading growth did improve drastically, and we met growth and we're above 0, which is kind of the defining line of a year's worth of growth. Our math growth did drop, and we have been already discussing ways to improve our math for this upcoming year, and Dr. Thigpen kind of will touch on that as he gets to the end of the presentation. When we look at growth at each of our grade levels and looking at reading, you will see this past year, all grade levels 3 through 8 met growth expectations for the first time. Our math results at 3 through 8, our 4th and 5th graders met expected growth. Our 5th grade science met growth. And at high school, biology and English 2 exceeded growth, and our overall math 3 met growth. And as you'll see, there's 2 different math 3s lines. When we look at the school performance grade, if you remember, I've talked about that it's only the school performance grade for math 3 is only students who had taken NC Math 1 when they were in middle school. So but looking at all students that took Math 3 this past year, they met growth. Now, looking at the performance of the students that attended testing and took their end-of-grade or end-of-course tests, here's a comparison of looking at each grade level of their grade level proficiency and their college and career readiness. And the difference is the level 3 students are counted in that grade level proficiency. So you'll see a comparison of from this past year to the year before, and what the grade level changes, which is an apples to oranges comparison. But you'll see, but in the last kind of 2 columns, you'll see the cohort change, and you'll see green where students from when they were in one grade level into the next grade level, what was their change in performance. And here's the same data set, but with our math and science results. Science, we don't do grade level change and cohort change because they don't take it the year before in those with the students that are in those grade levels. And for our EOCs, just looking at performance from one year to the next, students when they get to high school could take EOC courses at different grade levels based on their academic track. So it's a little difficult to really look at the cohorts, but you'll see English 2 and Math 3 showed improvement. All right. We also looked at how NC Cyber Academy's performance was in relation to the other 2 statewide virtual schools NC Virtual Academy and Pine Springs Preparatory Remote Academy. And you'll see that our performance score and grade, our score, excuse me, is higher than the other two. And you'll see that our growth, overall growth, was drastically better than the other two schools. And that actually became the biggest difference in how we did overall in our school performance grade in relation to NC Virtual Academy. And here's a breakdown just looking at our indicators that are part of our school performance grade in each of the areas. And I've just highlighted our scores. And you'll see our English 2 was really impressive in relation to the other virtual schools, which is also a very impressive number when you look at it across the state. And here's our other indicators. Just so you know, the ACT and the WorkKeys, I've separated them out, but the indicator is the combined ACT and WorkKeys results. And it's 12th graders who when they took the ACT in grade 11, and then the CT concentrators who graduate in our grade 12 taking WorkKeys. So you'll see how we did. All right. The last thing before I move it over to Dr. Thigpen is our participation. And since I've gotten here, my first goal was to get us over 95% participation for three reasons. DPI had a conversation with me when I first got here saying we're concerned about it. The second thing is that if you're under 95%, that does have a negative impact on your overall school performance grade. Year before I got here, our performance grade went down 1.5 points because of not meeting participation. And the third thing is when students are coming to our testing, that shows a strong level of engagement and coming in and doing their best. This past year in our EOC and EOG state assessments of the students that were enrolled in courses, we were at 96.9% of students attending their assessment. We did miss, and I'll talk about it in a second, we missed in a couple places, but there were some situations of why we did not meet 95% with, for example, English 2. But overall, being at basically 97% in our participation was unbelievable. I was ecstatic. It really shows the work our staff has done to communicate with families and help my department make sure that everyone knows when they're scheduled to test. But I think it also shows the commitment from our families to do everything possible to come in for testing at all of our sites. And here is kind of a quick comparison over 4 years, how much our participation has improved. Again, could not be happier. We've kind of, as I told the staff in August, we have set the expectation that we should never drop below where we're at in our participation. And one last thing, when you look at subgroups of 30 or more, when it comes to our school performance grades regarding participation, 4 years ago, we only had one subgroup of 30 or more that met participation. And this past year, we had 36 of our 50 subgroups. So it shows that we're getting students from all tests attending. So we were very happy with that. Is there any questions anyone has before I turn it over to Dr. Thigpen? Okay. Well, Dr. Thigpen, I'll pass it over to you, and you just let me know when we want when you want to go to the next slide.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper, and thank you, board members, for the opportunity to speak to you. You know, we've seen some things that we are pleased with our results, but we've also seen some areas where we want to improve and build some proficiency. What is the strategy we take as a curriculum and instruction department to support our principals, our teachers, and help improve the system? And so what we're going to focus on is delivering solid tier one instruction. We want to focus on tier one, and once in 9 of 13 areas, we're below 50% proficiency. And so as we get near and surpass 50%, then we start to focus on the subgroups and leveraging them to close our final gaps. But at this point, the best strategy is to focus on our core. We want to make sure that we've got alignment and the pace, the rigor, the depth of knowledge that we're asking of students on assignments, that those match what they're asked on the test. And so our principals also are making some efforts to, they may have strategies that go along with this, such as asking teachers to post learning objectives or daily checks for understanding that are embedded with instruction. But that is where we are as a curriculum instruction department, is focusing on the core. We have the leader in me and the 4 disciplines of execution that we're using, and they give us solid, proven processes to use to continue to improve the Franklin Covey. Each grade band has a Franklin Covey coach working with them, and the district objectives, such as 70% at or above grade level, all of our schools meeting or exceeding growth, and increasing student engagement. The Franklin Covey coaches are working with the schools in order to make sure that their efforts and their wildly important goals are aligned with the district objectives. We've got some solid processes in place. We've got curriculum maps. We've added pacing to those maps. Our instructional coaches are building quarterly assessments. We're using NC check-ins and SchoolNet to provide assessments for our teachers. We're going to have quarterly data meetings with principals and directors and discuss where we're at and what we need to do. You go through the next slide, Dr. Cooper. Once you have the data, the hard part is working together, reflecting and collaborating on how you want to improve. And so teachers can take questions to their PLCs. The 3 guiding questions of a PLC is: how will we know they've learned it? What are we going to do if they haven't? And what will we do for those that already know it? And they will take their data that they get from those assessments and use it to see what it tells them and decide, what are the next steps we need to take to improve on proficiency. And so that's the hard part, making sure that we've reflected, that we've considered options to improve student performance. And, we sit down and thought about why didn't they get it if we've taught an objective to. Is it a background knowledge issue? Is it, we need better delivery? Is it an engagement issue? And so those are the questions that teachers will, be working with in their PLCs. And we will also be working with in our data meetings that we have. So if you'll go to the next slide, Dr. Cooper, we also are beginning to use AI, and we believe that will be an enhancement for us. We believe it will help teacher preparation. It will help teachers with alignment. It will make them more efficient, save time in making sure things are aligned. And it will also be used as a student learning tool. And so we feel like that will influence and help improve our scores as we move forward. Right, Dr. Cooper? So, if you want to look at what are the efforts that we're making to improve, we're revising our curriculum maps yearly. We've added pacing to that. We've gone to assessments that are prepared by the instructional coaches, and they using NC check-ins and SchoolNet to do that. We have a solid process in place with 4 disciplines of execution. Our classrooms will have scoreboards. Schools will will have data notebooks to help monitor their progress. And then we will come together as a district quarterly to meet with principals and directors and put our heads together if we're not having the success that we would like. And we believe that AI is also going to enhance our efforts as we try to improve. I also want to mention that, our principals are also doing school level efforts to improve, and are taking some steps. They will be explaining that to you when they present their school improvement plans, but they are also all in on trying to improve and helping things move forward. So I guess the thing I want to leave you with is I feel confident that we've got good people that care and want to get better. We've got solid systems in place, and I feel optimistic about that our scores will improve next year. Any questions or concerns or anyone has?
Thank you, Dr. Thigpen. This is Audrey. I know that you had listed the strategies that are being used this year, and I recognize that AI is a different strategy from last year. But what are some of the other strategies that might be different than what was applied in previous years?
The curriculum guides, we've taken a look at those to make sure that the pacing was more in line across the board than where it was. The big thing is the instructional coaches, are getting together to create the benchmark assessments and quarterly assessments that align with the pacing guide to make sure we're on target. And another thing is I believe it takes a while to learn how to do 4DX, and I believe we will be better at it this year than we were when we began last year. And so I think we are our principals in my conversations with two of them and I've got to finish talking with one other one. They are focused on moving forward, and I think as a district we're trying to support them in what they do to improve our student outcomes. We're committed to making sure we do everything we can to support them.
Other questions from board members?
I had something I wanted to loop back to, and it's sorry, I think I'm freezing. It is perhaps going to be difficult because I don't think some of the folks who are presenting were here during this discussion, but I'm looping back to when we started to implement the new live lesson schedule, the live learning implementation. And I'm wanting to understand how we're tracking the results. And I mean, we are seeing increases in some places, like it looks like reading and English, and then we're seeing pretty significant decreases in some of our math scores. And I'm not kind of saying there's any causality there between live lessons, but I thought that our intention was that by the trade-off of having a little bit less flexibility for our families would be that we might see increased performance here. Are we tracking that? Are we seeing that? What are the thoughts of the staff on that now?
Mr. Hill, did you want to answer that? I didn't want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the things we did a couple weeks ago is we looked at our performance of students who were here last year and looking at what their engagement tier was. And one of the things that we noticed is with reading, the correlation between students that were proficient and students that were full flexed was a pretty strong kind of look when you looked at reading. So when the percentages, and I don't have it up right now, I apologize. When it came to math, we did see that the correlation between the proficiency, a high proficiency, and the number of students, percentage of students, full flex was not where probably none of us we looked at it and was like, well, that is not really a good correlation. So one of the things we talked about was, what is the criteria, and do we need to revisit the criteria for getting students to a full flex? Does it need to be different for ELA compared to math? And it seems to be that, talking to the principals and the ideas they have is, how do we really make sure that the students that are on full flex for math are the students that are capable of handling that full flex responsibility? It's kind of similar to when you look at students in middle school taking NC Math 1. You want the correlation between students enrolled in that course and your proficiency to be very high. And so that was kind of where this conversation went, is we've done a really good job, the criteria for who goes into Math 1 at 8th grade, and we need to kind of revisit that criteria so that students who are capable of handling it can, but really looking at giving students more time at face-to-face instruction.
Let
And,
me just,
one-
can I
one
say,
thing
can I
I-
ask just a clarifying question? So when you said the correlation, so to restate what you said you saw a positive correlation between students who were full flex and reading performance, but you did not see a positive correlation for math full flex to.
Yes. Correct.
Very interesting. Did you
Yeah.
happen to break down all all tiers of full flex and their scores for each one? You don't have to tell me. I know you don't know it off the top of your head, but
I didn't break it down by performance level, just looked at proficiency of level 3, 4, and 5. And looking at the one that I was trying to find it real quick. I know off the top of my head, our middle school reading was at 77% of full flex students were proficient. Where I just pulled it up, where in math at middle school, 54% of students full flex were proficient. And when you look at high school, you had the same type of thing. Our English 2 was roughly around 75% of students full flex were proficient. But then when you looked at math, the same thing happened. You were at 50% or lower in those students. So that's why I think just looking at the criteria and maybe adjusting what meets full flex criteria for math needs to be different than reading. It can't just be across the board.
It did not occur to me when we were first talking about this 2-3 years ago, whenever that was. But it makes a lot of sense to me from a parent's perspective, because to be successful, actually, one component of it is there's so much reading actually in the curriculum itself. And so it does make sense to me that full flex strong readers are going to probably have a higher probability of being full flex, because they're working independently and therefore they're reading a lot of the curriculum. I had not thought of that, but I also really like this idea. And I think if we haven't formally implemented that might be a good idea of saying flex by subject, because of course different students are going to be able to be full flex in certain subjects. And from a marketing perspective, I think that also lends itself to the flexibility idea as we're proposing to enroll in terms of enrollment, is helping parents understand that your child, what we're offering is a customized education, not just a better than flexible, which is customized, So I like that from a marketing perspective as well, because I just think it more accurately reflects what we're doing if we do flexibility by subject. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
And one thing you'll note is the growth of our 3-5 school in terms of both reading and math. And this past year, the elementary went from offering full flex and tradition to pure traditional. And so, we require students in elementary to participate in live learning, as opposed to allowing the parent to opt in, the conversation was, and many of you participating in that. Wow, you're speaking of child development, childhood growth at such a young age. And with regards to looking at the additional or changing the criteria, one conversation is would a student need to score a 4 or a 5 the prior year in order to qualify for full flex, as opposed to scoring a 3, 4, or 5. 4 or 5 indicates college readiness, as opposed to a 3 indicating proficiency.
Thank you. And that made me think of something, Mr. Hill. Did we, Dr. Cooper, run any kind of correlation between engagement and performance, both in the aggregate, but also just looking at student by student, how um, engagement is impacting performance? And the reason I'm asking that is if we didn't and we could, it would be a very compelling thing to share, I think, with our families and say, hey, even if you're full flex, what we're seeing is if your child is engaged in these ways, attending in this amount, at this percentage, they're more likely to perform better. Just kind of proving out, I think, to some of our families why it may be important and impactful to be engaged.
Yeah, I guess my first question is when you're talking engagement, are you talking about just attendance in courses? Um,
I
we
guess
don't.
I would say whatever metric we have that qualifies for engagement, but I'm thinking about staying on track and attending live learning. That's kind of what I was thinking of it as.
Yeah, we would have to do just pulling some additional data points. I think one thing going forward, and I remember hearing it when we discussed this, is looking at trying to figure out students that are full flex who are engaged and wanting to attend live lessons, and actually we're able to do a little bit of that with our new information system of students that we have on the full flex, and being able to see which students actually came into attendance for the day, and showing that even students that are full flex still have the ability to come into our lessons and participate, and kids are seeing that that's really important.
Any other question or comments? Dr. Thigpen, when you were talking with the principals, was there like competing hypotheses for, or alternate hypotheses, I guess, for what happened with math? I mean, I love that your questions you had, Miss Ray. But yeah, what have you heard about why math would have declined?
The main thing is they want to make sure that the assessments are more aligned and perhaps more rigorous than we've been. You can read a math standard and you and I can interpret it differently at a different level, and they want to make sure that they're all on the same page on when they read the standard of
Mhm.
what that means, and that's the effort that we're making to make sure that my understanding and your understanding are the same, that way we're paddling down the same.
Mhm.
That is it. The main.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I just thought of one more thing, I promise. Just one more.
Take your time. Your time.
And I'm like broken record here, but every time we talk about end of year testing, I think about this, which is just making sure that we've looked at all the locations and that we don't have any outliers in terms of performance by location. I know we've added new locations. I know that it is very natural that students in virtual education may have even more increased test anxiety because they're used to working in a home environment. So just looking by location at scores just to make sure that we have our accommodations are on point, that we have just that there are no outliers in terms of like anything that could have happened that was environmental or nerves related for some of our higher performers who may not have performed as we expected.
Yeah, I'll just say that that's one thing we're always looking at is, I mean, we use sites that we try to, if we can get a different site that's better suited, we've been trying to push for that. What's the craziest thing, and I actually had a conversation with a parent in the Concord area, is finding a location that really is suitable and has enough space is very difficult in the Charlotte area. So that's something we're still pushing for. One of the things we've started doing this year is, and we trying to get further ahead on scheduling, and so we really can get a good idea of how much space we need. We've seen that parents are very happy when we get a nice secure site that is very conducive to testing. And there's a lot of factors why we might not be able to get the ideal location. So we keep just kind of pushing through and trying to keep researching more and more sites. So, but I already know that there's some sites that I believe we would do better if it was a site that was more conducive. So that's something we're always trying to get better at.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Cooper and Dr. Thigpen. And
Well, board members, for purposes of planning, the State Board of Education policy requires that our board approve the revised school improvement plan by November 30th. So we'll be bringing a plan to you during the board meeting in November. Next month, we'll ask the principals to present and move forward again in November with asking for your approval. I've asked Dr. Howard Harvey to chair our district school improvement team, and so he'll as I mentioned, he has a lot of experience working in the Department of Public Instruction and in Guilford regarding helping schools to turn around. So that'll be an additional change with regards to some of the activities and policies and practices that we're going to implement moving forward.
all right. Thank you. Next up, we have the Finance Committee. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Kenny.
Yes, in our small group, there's only, I think, 4 or 5 of us there. Dr. Mullins talked about our school budget and gave us updates on how our money is being spent and what's going on. So Dr. Mullins can share what he shared with us, with you now, please.
Thank you. I had sent the committee and the board three documents or 3 pages. The first one is the projected budget, and Dr. Marks has signed that. We have submitted that so we can get it in our system that we use to provide the budget reports, and also to get it in the state systems, federal systems to get the budget allotments approved. So you see that the current budget is a revenue stream of just under 26 million based on a ADM of 2,385 students. And then our expenses, which was approved, I think, in the last board meeting, expenses of just under 26 million, pretty much a net or maybe a net of just over $1,800 from the expenses versus the revenues. And on the second page, just wanted to share the year to date, the month to date and year to date activities, where you see that the first 2 months of the school year, we've spent 3.5 million of our budget. And the first column where it says current budget, you'll see the zeros there. And the reason why is PMR1 was submitted last week. And once PMR is submitted, then we'll get some state, local, and federal dollars that would be adjusted. And once those adjustments are made, then we'll plug in the current revenues and the expenses, and we may have to come back to the board and look at making some adjustment to the approved expenses. But at the next committee meeting, next board meeting under current budget, you'll see those dollar amounts. You'll continue to see the month-to-date activity, year-to-date activity, what's remaining, and then the percentage that's been used. And so maybe in September, we may have to come to the committee and the board and make some adjustments. But you'll see the current budget line item with dollar amounts in there based on the projected budget plus any changes that may have to be made. And then as far as where we stand at the end of or at the beginning of August, August 1st of 2025, we're at 8.9 million. We had a fund balance of just over 2.3 million, and we had just under 6.6 in the Ameriprise financial portfolio of treasuries and CDs. Over the month of August, our PNC bank account increased by $375,000. That is because we drew down money, state, local, and federal dollars from the bank, or from DPI, I should say. Then our portfolio with Ameriprise Financial increased just over $23,000. So we had an increase from August 1st to the end of August of $398,000, a little over $398,000. So we began August 1st with 8.9 million, and we ended August with 9.3 million, or just over 9.3 million. So keeping in mind, we have the over 2 million in the bank for operating capital. And then we have over 6.6 million in the treasuries and CDs with Ameriprise Financial. And as some of those CDs mature and become available, then the decisions will be made. Do we roll that into another CD or roll it into our operating capital as the school year progresses? And so that was the 3 pages. The first page again was the approved budget. And that has been submitted. The second page was our current expenses up to date through the end of August, July and August expenses. And then the third page was our account balance. So the board, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
All right. Thorough as always. All right. So next we have the governance committee with Dr. Martin McCoy.
Yes, good evening, everyone. We have one action item on our agenda this evening. It's the parental leave opt-in. Dr. Mullins, will you present that information?
Yes, ma'am. If the board remembers, last year, the board voted to participate in the parent leave opt-in, which the short version of it is any of our staff that are out on a maternity leave, they are given 8 weeks of paid leave. They don't have to use their sick or personal time. And so they will continue to be paid for 8 weeks. And then after the 8 weeks, they're eligible for the FMLA. And that is for any of our staff that are actually having children. And then as a part of the parent leave, there's also part of that policy that says if you adopt a child, you can have 4 weeks of paid leave. And the 8 weeks is for the birthing and the bonding. And then the 4 weeks is for adopted families to have the bonding time. So last year we participated in that. We had a number of our staff members to participate in the parent leave. And again, 8 weeks for our staff that are out on maternity leave, 4 weeks if there's an adoption, and they don't have to use any of their lead time during that 4 or 8 week period, and their pay remains the same, and then they're also eligible for Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA, and you have to opt in every year as a board. So that's the reason we're bringing it to you, to see if the board wants to continue to opt in.
Thank you, Dr. Mullins. Are there any questions? I would like to make a motion to continue with the parental leave opt-in option. May I get a second?
This is Jennifer. I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Martin McCoy. All right, next we have the consent agenda, which is just approval of last month's minute and Dr. Mullins' operations report. If nobody has any questions or changes, if I could get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
This is Audrey Martin McCoy, so moved.
This is Dee, I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the motion carries. All right, now I would like to propose, I can't remember if I make the motion. Propose we go into closed session GS. Oh, I don't have the updated numbers. Okay, GS 143-318.11A1 to discuss information that's confidential pursuant to GS 115C-218.25 and GS 115C-319. And Attorney Dover, can you tell me the last part?
Yes, and pursuant to GS 143-318.11A3 to have attorney-client privilege communication with the board's attorney.
Yes, and that. May I have a motion for all of that, please?
This is Frank. I motion it.
This is Jennifer, I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. See you in closed session. Thanks. Did we stay here and they left? Oh, no, we're
I
still
think we're
being live
getting
streamed. I don't think we haven't been beamed out yet.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Silent. All right. Something's dinging. All right. I think I was missing this. My screen's not big. Nope. One more we're waiting on. Hopefully she's not stuck. Hypothetically, it is possible to click leave meeting instead of leave room. I've done that once or twice, so I'm thinking that's where we might have lost Miss Radcliffe. There she is. All right, we have everybody now. So I will ask for a motion to approve. Oh, actually, I'll ask Mr. Mullins to share with us what we're motioning.
Okay, thank you. We're asking that the board approve Beverly Cagle as a middle school social studies teacher.
Thank you, Dr. Mullins. All right, may I have a motion to approve the hire, please?
This is Jennifer. I'll make that motion to hire Mrs. Cagle.
And this is D, I second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. That is the last thing we have on our agenda. If nobody else has anything, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
This is Audrey, so moved.
This is Jennifer, and I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, excellent. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your evening. Bye.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.